Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to get help from the CVC. There are many commands associated with various different channels or ports on the CVC. Let's go to the help, content, and what you will see is the content window of the help. And what you need to do is to navigate to the commands selection. And as you can see, all the commands are organized into their types. So if you want to find out the commands associated with channels or with controls of third-party equipment, just click on channels and you'll see all the ports that Q supports from the controller. Let's take for example, in earlier trade videos, we have discussed about having analog out, which is a 0 to 10 volt output. So you can take a look at the analog out channels and you can see there are 3 commands associated with the analog channels. Click on the first command, change voltage. This change voltage command will take in a voltage difference, which is the amount of voltage that you want to change, alright, that is based on the current voltage. Let's say the current voltage is 2 volts and you want to raise it by 3.5 volts. You put in 3.5 here and you also put in the time that you want the voltage to change, which means that if you put in colon 4, this means 4 seconds. This will mean that the time taken for the old voltage to change, to increase by 3.5 volts will be 4 seconds. Alright, so this command will increase the voltage on A01 within 4 seconds. Similarly, we have another command called get voltage. This command will actually read the analog out and get what is the current set voltage on the analog out. And this command, as opposed to the change voltage, the set voltage command will immediately set the voltage to a new level based on an optional ramp time. The default ramp time is 0, which means that the setting will actually come immediately, which means that whatever voltage you set, it will appear immediately if you don't put in the ramp time. However, if you put in the ramp time, the voltage will be set after the ramp time. Alright, so as you can see here, A01.set voltage, this command will actually set the voltage to 3.5 volts within 4 seconds. Similarly, when you look at digital I/O, you will also find commands associated with the digital I/Os. So standard commands will be open, close. This will actually do when you are using the digital I/O as output, open and close will actually do a open and close circuit on the I/O itself. Close pulse will actually close the I/O for a time, for a short pulse time, signified by the pulse time here. Alright, and you will open the circuit again. Alright, so you will close for a short time and open it back. Is closed, we'll check whether the current output is open or closed. If it's open, is closed will return false. If it's closed, is closed will return true, which is a boolean. So wait while closed, wait while open, as the name implies, this command will actually cause the program to wait for an indefinite amount of time until the circuit is open or closed. On close is a process, or rather is an event, which can be used inside a driver for monitoring the closed state of the input. So the sample for how to write or how to use the event is shown at the bottom. So as you can see, we have very detailed explanation on all the various ports on the controller and their commands. So if you are looking at creating an infrared driver, or you are using the infrared port to send serial data, all you need to do is to do a set serial parameter to set the mode, the baud rate, everything. And also to do a set carrier to disable the carrier because you want to use it as a serial port. as I've mentioned in earlier training, the IR port can also be used as a serial port. But however, when you're using it as a serial port, you will need to disable the carrier and set serial parameter. Alright, so there are a lot of commands inside the system. Alright, so you can, from clicking on the relay, you can see the various functions associated with the relay. Clicking on the IR receiver, you will also see the various functions associated with the IR receiver. Clicking on serial, you will see the functions associated with the serial, like a function like receive. Okay, this function will actually receive the data from the serial port with an optional parameter as timeout. So if you do not put in the timeout, the default timeout will be 10 seconds. So this command will actually wait for 10 seconds before exiting and passing out a Boolean variable to denote whether you have data coming in or no data. Alright, so all you need to do is to write a loop to keep receiving and check if this receive function returns a true. If the receive function returns a true, then you do something. So this is a sample of how the command may work. So all the commands in the system, right, comes usually with a sample. Alright, so you can see here how the commands actually work. So also, if you look at TCP client, you also see a list of commands associated with TCP client, like connect to a server particular IP address and a particular server port address with a timeout, and to disconnect from it, to receive data, send data, and to wait for data. So all these commands are all readily available inside the system. And similarly, if you look in the TCP server, you will also see the command to actually open a TCP port for listening, and a command get client, alright, to get a client process to start operating on the client. So you can also see detailed, basically whenever you get client, you will get a TCP remote client. So in order to find out details about how the TCP remote client works, just click into TCP remote client and you will see a full sample on how to write a simple server application, which will actually open on a server port on the queue controller and listen for clients to actually come into the system. Similarly, we have UDP client and server as well. Other commands will include commands for batteries, which will actually, these are a list of commands associated with the battery on board AirQ7. Alright, this allows us to read what is the current battery capacity, and etc. and etc. If you want to create a notification icon when the battery is running down, or you want to create some form of display for the battery current battery status, you can do so with the commands here. Alright, we have made a list of a huge raft of commands, all the way to even XML commands for parsing XML. Alright, so we have a huge range of commands, and I will not run through each individual commands as it's too tedious to do that. So this is the section where all the commands resides, and these are all the commands that is available for the CVC to do programming on your system. Do contact us at support@qsystem.com if you wanted more help and support on certain commands or certain functionality on the system. With this, I will end my short video on how to get help for commands in CVC. Thank you. Bye-bye.